Hi guys, it's Rob from Royal Balls. I have another update today on my terrarium and the snake that's in it. If you remember, he'd settled in quite nicely to this new larger enclosure and he'd settled into a nightly routine. And in this episode I'm going to share with you a change that has occurred. He has changed his routine, and that occurred after he took a poo. I never actually thought a snake taking a poo would be so interesting. The poo actually necessitated me going in to the terrarium and doing a full clean, actually twice, because he did it twice, and that disturbance, as we will see in the video, forced a change in his behaviour. He was no longer hanging out in the surface hide during the day, which he had been quite content to do, but he moved underground. During the day he spends all day in the underground tube system, but still comes out at night, moves into the surface hide and sets up an ambush position, just as he'd always done. But now he's commuting to work from the underground tunnel to the surface hide. So as part of this experiment, although I was loath to do so because this guy is getting on so well in this terrarium, I removed the surface hide so he didn't have anywhere that he could set up his ambush. I substituted it with a small log, and as we shall see, well, let's save that for the video so that you can see what actually happened when I removed the hide. Okay guys, this guy has been in shed for the last week or so. He hasn't appeared at night in his usual ambush position, but last night I did notice that he was out in the evening and set up his ambush again. And I don't know whether you can see, down in that back corner is a poo. So sometime last night he came out and had a poo in that back corner. He didn't poo inside his hide. Now I suspect that he's either shed or is going to shed in the next day or so. So I'm going to lift up his hide and just have a look inside and see whether he's actually shed, and then I'm going to clean out the terrarium. So I'm going to put the camera back on the table and see whether I can set it up so that you can actually watch me clean out the terrarium. But let's have a look in his hide and see whether this guy is actually shed. So I'll just remove that greenery. And let's lift up his hide and see whether he's shed. And there he is. So no, he hasn't shed, but he must be extremely close. So I'm going to pull him out and put him into a holding tub with his hide so that he does have the scent of his hide and doesn't stress out too much while I clean. And I'll show you guys a time-lapse video of that. So here he is. This guy is actually getting quite large. I'm going to put him inside this tub here with the hide just while I clean out his terrarium. So let's just put him down here, and we'll put him inside this tub. And he does have the hide in there, so he'll probably climb into the hide while I'm cleaning. So we'll just put him to one side and we'll clean the terrarium. You can see more clearly now the poo down in the bottom corner, so I'm just going to take out all of this stuff. You'll see that he has peed and there are urates where his hide was, so he does pee in his hide and doesn't fuss too much about that. That doesn't faze him, but he did come out and deposited a poo in the corner, so let's clean that out. replace the hide, facing backwards of course. And we'll put the snake back in. And guess where he's going? Straight down the tube into the underground system after he's been disturbed. Now there's a thing. So he didn't go back into his hide, he's gone back down the tube. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so all the decor's back in his tank. It's set up exactly as it was before, and what I was going to do is to remove this hide once he's shed. He hasn't been fed for a while, so I was going to try and force him to go back down into the tubes, but he's gone down there all by himself, just by simply me disturbing him from this hide here. He's shot down the hole and he's in the underground hide. So it'll be interesting to see if he sheds down there, and whether he comes out and sets up an ambush here tonight when he wants feeding, because he hasn't been fed for a while, and I'll see whether he actually goes back inside the hide when he's not being disturbed. So there we go, I've cleaned it out. The disturbance has forced him down the underground tubes. He was down there like a rat down a drain pipe, dare I say. So he's in the tube, he's not in the underground hide. He went down the tube but hasn't come out this end, so we'll see what he does. This is interesting. Okay, so here we are again. I'm going to have to clean out this terrarium yet again because he's left a poop in the underground tub here, so yet again I'm going to have to disturb him. And I have noticed that since he came out from underground and seems to have re-established that routine of nightly ambush, so he should be in the hide underneath here, and I'll put him in a holding tub while I just clean out inside the terrarium. He's not inside his hide. He's inside the tube, not inside the tub, which is dirty, which I'm going to clean out, but he's inside the tube at the back there where he was the other day as well. He seems to be quite comfortable inside that tube. that lifts out very easily. And I'll just take a little picture of where he actually is so that you guys can see. So we lift the tub out and I can clean the tub. So there's the tub nicely cleaned out. We'll put that back. Okay, so because this guy has now started to go underground during the day, what I've done is to remove the hide. So I've replaced this hide, and to compensate, because that's his ambush position, what I've done is to give him a little bit of a log there. That there is a small hidey hole, but he can't really hide in it. But he can set up an ambush, again facing the front, on the top of this log. So let's see what he does now that the hide is removed. He's only been using this surface hide during the night, and he sets up his ambush here. But the bulk of his body is inside the hide, hidden away, and it's very easy for him to duck back in if he's disturbed. Which he does quite regularly. If I do peek in the cage, he bobs back inside the hide. He doesn't like to be seen at all. So you can see the entrance that he's using is the right hand side, and I can tell by the way the paper is crushed on that side and is not touched at all on this side, that it's this side that he's using. The other thing that I found interesting is if we look underneath here at the underground tub, he's not in there and he hasn't used it at all. You can see that the paper there is actually sticking up over the tube, and he hasn't been in the tube, otherwise that paper would be pressed down and I would see that he'd been through that tube and into the tub at the front of the Terrarium, which he hasn't done. He spends all his time actually in the tube right at the back, and I'll see if I can get a torch there to shine on that so that you guys can see. Yeah, I'm not sure that you can see, but he's in the tube at the back, and that's where he spends all day. Not in this open space in the tub, but in the tube at the back, in the tightest possible space that he can squeeze into. And he goes in there every day, spends the whole day in there, and then comes out at night. So it'd be interesting to see when he comes out tonight and finds that his hide is gone, what he does. So we're now getting very close, guys, to the stage where I think we've seen a very specific set of behaviours from this snake in this terrarium, and he doesn't move around a great deal. As with the old terrarium, none of this climbing opportunity or space above ground level is being utilised at all by this snake. He simply does not climb. He hasn't climbed since the first couple of days when I put him into the new terrarium, and he was very unsettled and he was trying to escape, and he was climbing up to the roof and pushing on the roof of the terrarium basically to try to find a way out. This is not exploration, this is not your snake exercising, this is your snake trying to escape. And he hasn't done it since. He's settled down very nicely, which means that he hasn't climbed at all. Now, on that point, I don't want to get into depth about the climbing abilities of ball pythons in this video, but there is a very strong group of people who claim that ball pythons are semi-arboreal. That camp, in almost all cases, quotes this paper. This is a paper I've had in my references for many years. I'll just show you that there. It's a 1998 paper, and it's Sexual Dimorphism and Dietary Divergence in Ball Pythons in southeastern Nigeria. 1998 this was written, and I think I've read it dozens of times and done my own research. And as a scientist myself, I have to say that I have never seen such a short, succinct and well-written paper be so misinterpreted and misquoted by so many different people. I find it absolutely staggering. This paper does not say in any way, shape or form that ball pythons are semi-arboreal. If you want my take on it and some of my own research, I can go through this paper line by line with you guys and give you my scientific opinion on what this paper actually does say. Some of the limitations of the studies and some of the obvious conclusions that can be drawn from this study as well. But trust me, it doesn't say what people say it says. A subject for another time, perhaps. Now, because this snake has pretty much done everything I think we can expect this snake to do, inside this terrarium, it's time to move to the next phase of my personal experiment. And I have here a snake that I'm going to replace this guy with. So this terrarium reared snake is going to come out of here when I can actually catch him, when I can find him and get him out at a convenient time. I'm going to remove him from this terrarium and I'm going to put him in a tub. This is one of my hatchling tubs. It's a very small Daiso shoebox, and I have another male snake in here which is about the same size, about the same age. This was hatched 5 months old. This was hatched in December. So it's a 5-month-old snake and it's about the same size as the one that's in the terrarium. This snake has been tub reared all its life, and the first thing that I will say about this snake is that it is nowhere near as flighty as the snake that is in the terrarium. This snake has not been handled either a great deal. It's a pastel pied, a really nice pastel pied, so it is a very interesting and pretty morph, but you can see that he's quite calm and relaxed, which the terrarium snake certainly is not. So there is a difference in behaviour between these two snakes. This snake here is accustomed to seeing people moving around, he's accustomed to being fed in his tub, and he's quite settled and relaxed when I pick him up and handle him. The snake in the terrarium is not. So we're going to move them, we're going to switch them. We're going to put this guy into the terrarium and see how unsettled he becomes and what his behaviour is going to be, how he adapts to life in the terrarium. And we're going to put the guy in the terrarium into this tub and see how he responds. So that should be the next phase of my terrarium experiment for you guys, and I'll bring that to you in a subsequent episode. But this is the candidate here for replacing the male snake that is currently in the terrarium. So we're going to do a comparison between the snake that's been reared in a tub and how he responds to being put into a terrarium, and the snake in the terrarium, see how he responds to being put into a tub. So let's put this guy back. Now that you've seen him, you know what the plan is. We'll do that over the next few days when I get an opportunity to actually remove this guy when he comes out and I can actually get to him. And I will put back the surface hide as it was when this snake first went in there. So the surface hide will go in and we'll replace it with this snake and we'll just see what happens. Okay guys, I hope you found that interesting. Many of you have commented on this series and it is something which I'm extremely interested in. It's certainly got to be more than just a beginner series on how to keep ball pythons and alternative housing for ball pythons. It's actually been a very interesting comparison and a very interesting education on snake behaviour. This guy is highly visible most of the time, so we can see what he's about and what he's actually doing, as compared to our snakes in tubs, which we don't get to see unless we actually open the tub, which in itself is a disturbance. So in some ways this snake is free to do what it wants to do without interference from me, and the snakes in tubs, of course, we don't get to see what they're doing unless I actually open the tub, which in itself is an interference with what they're doing. Drop down in the comments below if you want me to tackle a review of that paper and what it actually does say and some of the conclusions that we can draw from it. It is a highly controversial topic, but I will try and deal with it in an as objective manner as I possibly can. As a scientist, I'm used to having to do that. Yes, I do have my own opinions. Yes, I do have my own biases, but let's set those aside. If you want to know what I think that paper actually says, we can do that, but probably not a topic for everybody, and we're now straying well away from breeding ball pythons, which is what this channel is all about. So, thanks for watching. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.